Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into one of America's most recognizable coins, the Jefferson nickel. It's been part of everyday life for decades, but behind its familiar face lies a fascinating history filled with hidden details, rare varieties, and surprising value. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll see this classic 5-cent coin in a whole new light. First coin. The 1946 Jefferson nickel stands as a pivotal and highly sought-after issue for specialists, not merely as a common pocket change piece from the post-war era, but as a key coin whose value is profoundly dictated by its state of preservation. While millions were struck, the journey to finding an example in truly superb condition is a challenge that captivates collectors, driving the market for pristine specimens to impressive heights. Its appeal lies in this very paradox. A coin that is nominally common in circulated grades becomes a numismatic treasure in mint state, representing a tangible, high-grade survivor from a period of economic transition. The demand for top-tier examples consistently outpaces supply, solidifying its status as a cornerstone for any advanced Jefferson nickel collection. Minted in the immediate aftermath of World War II, the 1946 nickel carries the weight of a nation stepping from global conflict into a new peacetime reality. The coin itself is a symbol of continuity, as the Jefferson nickel design, introduced in 1938, continued without interruption. However, its production context is significant. The year 1946 saw the cessation of the wartime silver alloy nickels minted from 1942 to 1945, marking a full return to the pre-war copper-nickel composition. This return to normalcy in the coinage metal makes the 1946 issue the first of the modern, standard composition Jefferson nickels, setting the stage for the series that would follow for decades. Coins were produced at all three operating mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with the latter's issues often commanding particular attention from collectors. The aesthetic appeal of a high-grade 1946 nickel is rooted in the sharpness of its original design. The obverse features a robust left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, based on a marble bust by Jean Antlin Howdon, with the motto "In God We Trust" to the right and the date below. The reverse presents the classic rendition of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia estate, with fine details in the architectural features, columns, and the surrounding lettering. What makes a specimen truly special, however, is the quality of the strike and the subsequent preservation of its luster. On a fully struck example, every hair detail on Jefferson's portrait and the steps and portico of Monticello will be sharply defined. The coin's surface, when preserved in an uncirculated state, exhibits a brilliant, silvery sheen that can range from a satiny, cartwheel finish to a more brilliant, frosty texture, a direct result of the coin's 75% copper and 25% nickel composition. The principle of condition rarity is the single most important factor governing the value of the 1946 nickel. With a total mintage of over 190 million pieces across all mints, the coin is undeniably common in worn grades. The scarcity emerges dramatically in the upper echelons of the grading scale, particularly in MS-66, and most significantly in MS-67 and above. While many coins survived in circulation, very few were carefully set aside upon release, leading to a minuscule population of coins that have avoided any bag marks, hairlines, or friction over the decades. This is especially true for the 1946S and 1946D mint marks, where locating examples with fully white surfaces and impeccable strikes is a formidable task. The population reports from major grading services clearly show a steep decline in numbers for coins graded MS-67, making these the true ultra-rare condition giants of the issue. The market value for a standard 1946 nickel in average circulated condition is minimal, but for a certified example in gem condition, the prices escalate rapidly. A problem-free example graded MS-65 might trade in the range of $50 to $100, but the leap to MS-66 can see values reach $200 to $400. The truly elite specimens graded MS-67 command prices from $1,500 to over $3,000, with the record-setting prices often belonging to the 1946S and 1946D varieties in this top tier. The absolute finest known examples, particularly those that have earned the coveted full steps designation for a sharply defined five-step rendition of Monticello's stairway, have been known to realize auction prices pushing toward the $6,000 mark, a testament to the intense competition for the pinnacle of quality. For collectors pursuing this coin, the paramount advice is to prioritize third-party certification from services like PCGS or NGC. A certified coin guarantees authenticity and provides a reliable assessment of condition, which is critical for a coin where value is so heavily dependent on grade. When examining a potential purchase, focus on the sharpness of the steps on Monticello's portico and the details of Jefferson's hair. Avoid coins with distracting contact marks, hairlines from cleaning, or a dull, lifeless surface. Acquiring such a key coin is best done through established numismatic auction houses, reputable dealers who specialize in modern coinage, or trading within dedicated collector communities where provenance and transparency are valued. In conclusion, the 1946 Jefferson nickel embodies the core principle that in numismatics, rarity is often a function of preservation. It is a coin that bridges the wartime and modern eras of U.S. coinage, offering an accessible entry point for new collectors while presenting a deep, challenging pursuit for seasoned specialists seeking the finest examples. Its enduring appeal is multifaceted, combining historical significance, classic American design, and the thrill of the hunt for a condition census piece. As a solid, tangible asset with a proven market, a high-grade 1946 nickel represents not only a piece of history, but also a sound investment with strong potential for long-term appreciation, solidifying its place as a prized possession in any discerning collection. Next coin. All right, folks, let's get right into it. Today we're talking about a coin that is an absolute staple of American numismatics, the 1960D Jefferson nickel. Now, I know what you're thinking, it's just a nickel, you find them in your change every day. But this specific one from the Denver Mint in 1960 holds a special place and can be far more valuable than its 5-cent face value, especially when we're talking about top-tier examples. We're not just discussing a common pocket piece here. We're looking at a coin that, in the right condition, represents a key point in the series and can command serious attention from collectors. Its journey from the mint to today tells a story of mid-century America, and for those with a sharp eye, it can be a cornerstone of a specialized collection. The year 1960 sits at a fascinating crossroads in American history and coinage. This was the era of Eisenhower, the dawn of the space race, and a time of significant economic activity. The Denver Mint was operating at full tilt, producing millions upon millions of coins to fuel a growing nation's commerce. For the Jefferson Nickels series, 1960 is a landmark year because it represents one of the final chapters of the original design by Felix Schlag before the mint mark was moved, and the composition was later altered. The D mint mark signifies its origin in Denver, a key identifier for varieties. Understanding this context is crucial. These coins were workhorses, not treasures, and they circulated extensively, which is why finding them in pristine, untouched condition is the real challenge that drives their value. Taking a closer look at the design, the obverse features the classic portrait of President Thomas Jefferson, facing left, with the word Liberty to the side and the motto In God We Trust along the rim. The reverse is the iconic view of Monticello, Jefferson's famed estate. On this 1960D issue, the mint mark is found on the reverse, to the right of Monticello, a feature that would change just a few years later. What collectors prize most are the fine details often lost to wear: the sharp lines in Jefferson's hair, the full steps on the portico of Monticello, and the clarity of the inscriptions. A coin that has retained its full detail, especially the 5 to 6 full steps on Monticello, is considered a premium specimen and is graded as a full steps nickel, which is a whole different ballgame in terms of desirability. When we talk about rarity and survival rates for the 1960D nickel, we have to be very specific. The Denver Mint struck over 192 million of these nickels, so in circulated worn grades, this is an exceptionally common coin. You can find them in rolls and junk bins for barely over face value. The true rarity emerges when we discuss condition. The vast majority of these coins were spent, jangled in pockets, and run through commerce, resulting in heavy wear and loss of surface detail. Consequently, while millions were made, only a tiny fraction survived in mint state conditions, and an even smaller number retained the sharp strike necessary to qualify for the full steps designation. This extreme attrition rate in high grade is what transforms a seemingly common coin into a numismatic rarity. So, what is the collector demand for a 1960D nickel? For a Jefferson nickel collector completing a set, this is a fundamental date that must be acquired. However, the demand skyrockets among specialists who are either assembling a set in top-grade mint state or, more specifically, a registry set of full steps examples. In this niche, the 1960D stands out as a notorious condition census coin. It is famously difficult to find with well-struck, fully defined steps on Monticello, making it a key stopper for an otherwise obtainable series. This intense focus from advanced collectors on the absolute peak of preservation creates a competitive market for the handful of superb gems that exist, separating them from the sea of common, circulated examples. Let's break down the numbers and talk about what this coin is worth in today's market. For a heavily circulated, very dirty example like the one mentioned, the value is minimal, perhaps 25 to 50 cents. However, the market shifts dramatically with grade. A mint state example that is brilliant but lacks full steps can be worth between $5 and $25. The real action begins with the full steps designation. A mint state 65 with full steps can command a price between $800 and $1,200. As we climb higher into the gem grades, values escalate rapidly. A superb gem, MS66 full steps, is a truly rare coin, with a current market value ranging from $2,500 to over $4,000, with exceptional specimens sometimes breaking even higher in major auctions. For collectors aiming to add a high-grade 1960D nickel to their collection, the advice is to focus relentlessly on condition and eye appeal. First, prioritize the strike over everything else. You want a coin that exhibits as many full, uninterrupted steps on Monticello as possible. Second, consider having the coin professionally graded by either PCGS or NGC, as the full steps designation is critically important and is only consistently recognized by these services. Look for original, bright surfaces with strong luster. Coins that have been cleaned or are dull will hold significantly less value. Your best bet for finding one is not in circulation, but rather at reputable coin dealers, major numismatic auctions, or well-vetted online marketplaces that specialize in certified graded material. In conclusion, the 1960D Jefferson nickel perfectly illustrates the core principle of modern numismatics. Rarity is a function of condition. While it was made in the millions, its survival in a state of pristine, full-detail preservation is a minor miracle. Its importance as a late-series coin with the reverse mint mark, combined with its legendary status as a condition rarity, makes it a coin that appeals to both the new collector, who can afford a circulated example, and the seasoned veteran, for whom a gem full step specimen represents a significant trophy. It's a piece of 1960s America, frozen in metal, whose true worth is unlocked only by its state of preservation. Now, while this nickel can hold some surprising value, the coin we're going to look at next truly exists in a different league altogether. It's a silver issue from the same era, but with a tiny, almost invisible characteristic that makes it one of the most sought-after and expensive errors in the entire series. You won't want to miss this one. Third coin. The 1961 Jefferson Nickels stands as a captivating and often misunderstood pillar of modern numismatics, representing an era of transition and hidden scarcity that belies its common perception. While many collectors initially overlook this issue, considering it a mere component of a lengthy series, advanced specialists recognize the extraordinary challenges in locating pristine, high-grade specimens. Its appeal is not rooted in a minuscule mintage, but in the survival of coins that escape the harsh realities of circulation, making it a condition rarity of the highest order. The fervent demand for this particular issue is concentrated almost exclusively on examples that have been preserved in a state of near perfection, driving a significant premium in the marketplace and establishing it as a key date for specialists pursuing a top-tier Jefferson Nickels set. Historically, the 1961 nickel was struck during a period of economic optimism and burgeoning coin collecting interest across the United States. The Denver Mint, one of the primary production facilities, was tasked with meeting the massive demand for coinage to fuel a growing consumer economy. This coin does not commemorate a specific event or figure beyond the enduring tribute to President Thomas Jefferson, yet its context is deeply woven into the fabric of early 1960s America. It was a time when the coin series itself was stable, with the same Felix Schlag designs that had been in use since 1938, but the public's growing fascination with saving rolls of new coins meant that, paradoxically, while many were saved, very few were saved carefully. This resulted in a surplus of lower-grade examples and a critical shortage of gem-quality pieces, a situation that would only become apparent to the collecting community decades later. The aesthetic appeal of a fully struck 1961 nickel in superb condition is undeniable. The obverse features a sharp, classical left-facing portrait of Thomas Jefferson, with intricate details in his hair and the word "Liberty" elegantly inscribed along the rim. The reverse presents a finely detailed rendering of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic estate, where the clarity of the pillars and the architectural features become the benchmark for grading. On a truly mint-state example, the steps of the portico will be sharply defined, and the surfaces will retain their original luster, a vibrant, satiny sheen that can range from a soft, frosty texture to a more brilliant, semi-reflective finish. The coin's composition of 75% copper and 25% nickel gives it a distinctive, durable white appearance that, when untouched by wear or cleaning, possesses a depth and quality that is immediately apparent to the seasoned eye. The rarity of the 1961 nickel is almost entirely a function of its condition. With a mintage of over 229 million pieces, it was produced in abundance, and circulated examples remain plentiful and inexpensive. The profound scarcity emerges in the realm of mint-state MS grades, particularly at the highest levels of preservation, MS 66 and above. The vast majority of these coins were released into circulation, where they were subjected to wear, bag marks, and other surface impairments. Those few that were stored in original rolls often saw their luster diminished by contact with paper wrappers or other coins. Consequently, examples that have survived with full, unbroken luster, minimal contact marks, and razor-sharp strikes are exceptionally rare. This disparity between the common circulated coin and the ultra-rare gem creates a dramatic numismatic narrative, where finding a true high-end specimen is a notable achievement. In the current numismatic market, the value of a 1961 Jefferson nickel is entirely dictated by its certified grade. A heavily worn example may be worth little more than its face value, while a coin graded MS-65 can command a respectable price of around $150 to $300. However, the financial landscape shifts dramatically for superlative specimens. A coin certified as MS-66, representing a superb quality piece, can see its value escalate to the range of $800 to $1,200. The pinnacle of the series, the coveted MS-67 grade, is where this coin truly transcends its humble origins. With only a handful of examples known to exist in this pristine state, auction prices have consistently realized figures between $4,000 and $6,000, a testament to the intense competition among top-tier collectors for the finest known examples. For collectors aspiring to add a high-grade 1961 D nickel to their holdings, diligence and a focus on quality are paramount. The most crucial step is to insist on examples that have been professionally graded and encapsulated by leading services such as PCGS or NGC. This third-party certification authenticates the coin, confirms its grade, and protects it from future harm. When evaluating a potential purchase, even within a holder, one should look for brilliant, original surfaces that are free of hairlines or discoloration, a strong strike on Monticello steps and pillars, and an attractive, even cartwheel luster. Acquiring such a coin typically involves monitoring major auction houses, establishing relationships with reputable dealers who specialize in modern coinage, and engaging with numismatic communities where such rarities are occasionally offered for sale. Ultimately, the 1961 D. Jefferson nickel in gem condition represents a fascinating study in perceived commonality versus actual rarity. It is a coin that teaches the advanced lesson that survival quality, not just mintage figures, defines true numismatic scarcity. For the specialist, it offers a tangible connection to the peak of mid-century minting art and a challenging prize to pursue. Its combination of historical context, understated beauty, and extreme rarity in top grades secures its place as a modern classic, a coin whose value and appeal are built upon a foundation of exceptional preservation and the relentless pursuit of perfection by discerning collectors. Last coin. Well, now, let's take a close look at this particular piece of American history we have here, a 1966 Jefferson nickel. At first glance, you might just see an old, dirty 5-cent piece, the kind you'd maybe overlook in a handful of change. But that's where the story begins, because this coin represents a pivotal moment in the history of our coinage. While it may not be the rarest coin ever made, its significance lies in its context, marking the end of an era for the purity of our circulating coinage and the quiet beginning of another, making it a truly collectible and important piece for any enthusiast who understands the broader narrative of the U.S. Mint. To understand the 1966 nickel, we have to rewind to the mid-1960s, a time of great social change and economic pressure here in the United States. The price of silver was climbing dramatically, and the government faced a critical shortage of coinage as people began to hoard silver coins for their intrinsic metal value. This led to the Coinage Act of 1965, which removed silver from our dimes and quarters and dramatically changed the composition of the half-dollar. For the nickel, however, the story was different. The Jefferson nickel, first introduced in 1938, had always been struck in a copper-nickel alloy. But during World War II, from 1942 to 1945, the nickel metal was needed for the war effort, leading to the famous wartime silver nickels struck in a silver-copper-manganese alloy. The 1966 issue represents a return to that pre-war standard, but it now stood as the only 5-cent piece left in circulation that hadn't been recently debased. A solitary holdover from an earlier age of minting, produced in enormous numbers at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints to alleviate the coin shortage. The design, of course, is the classic work of Felix Schlag, featuring the left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse. On a well-struck specimen, You can make out the fine details of his hair and the famous "In God We Trust" to the left of the portrait. The reverse features a front view of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic estate, with the word Monticello clearly inscribed below it. What's particularly important to note about the 1966 coin is the mint mark, or lack thereof. From mid-1965 through 1967, the U.S. Mint suspended the use of mint marks on all coins in an effort to discourage collectors from hoarding new coins during the shortage. So, whether this nickel was struck at the Philadelphia or Denver Mint, it bears no mint mark, a small but crucial detail that defines all nickels from this 3-year period and adds to its unique character. When we talk about rarity and survival, the 1966 nickel is an absolute study in contrasts. In terms of pure mintage figures, it is decidedly not rare. Over 1.5 billion pieces were struck across 2 mints. However, rarity is not just about how many were made, but how many survive today in specific conditions. The vast majority of these coins entered circulation and were spent, lost, or worn down over decades of use. A coin like this, while dirty, may still have a significant amount of its original detail intact beneath the grime. The real rarity is finding a 1966 nickel that was preserved from the start, one that never saw the inside of a cash register or a pocket. In gem, uncirculated condition with full, original luster, this coin becomes much scarcer than its lofty mintage would suggest, as nearly all of them were subjected to commercial use. You might wonder about the collector demand for a coin that was produced in such vast quantities. Its appeal doesn't come from being a key date in the traditional sense, but from its role as a crucial type coin and a sleeper issue. For collectors assembling a complete set of Jefferson Nickels by date and mint mark, the 1966 no mint mark issue is a necessary piece, representing that specific period. Furthermore, for what is known as a circulation find album, where collectors seek to fill slots with coins they've personally pulled from circulation, a 1966 nickel in any condition is a common but satisfying find. It stands out in the series not for its scarcity, but for its story. It's a tangible relic of a nation adapting to economic crisis, a silent workhorse that helped keep commerce moving during a turbulent time. Now, let's get into the practical details of its market value in today's dollar terms. For a common 1966 nickel in a heavily worn, dirty condition like the one we're examining, the value is naturally quite low, essentially its face value of 5 cents, as it's a coin still readily found in circulation. However, the market shifts dramatically for examples in superior condition. A nicely preserved uncirculated example, graded by a service like PCGS or NGC, can command a price in the range of $5 to $15. For the truly exceptional specimens, those graded MS66 or higher with full, blazing luster and no contact marks, the value can reach and even exceed the $40 to $50 mark. It's a classic case where condition is absolutely everything, transforming a common date coin into a valuable prize for the condition census hunter. For collectors interested in pursuing a high-quality example of this issue, my advice is to focus relentlessly on the surfaces and the luster. Look for a coin that has not been cleaned or tampered with. Its original skin should be intact. The color can range from a bright white sheen to softer golden-tone patina, but it should look natural. The luster should be vibrant and cartwheel when you rotate it under a light. Because of the high mintage, you have the luxury of being selective. Your best bet for finding a nice raw example would be at a local coin show or a reputable online dealer. But for a guaranteed quality, purchasing a coin already encapsulated and graded by a top-tier service is often the safest route, ensuring you are getting a problem-free coin for your collection. In conclusion, the 1966 Jefferson nickel is far more than just a dirty old 5-cent piece. It is a symbol of American resilience, a common coin with an uncommon story from a defining decade. Its importance lies not in a low mintage figure, but in its historical context as a coin that bridged a gap in our nation's monetary history. For the new collector, it's an affordable and accessible piece of that history, while for the seasoned specialist, it presents a compelling challenge to find a pristine gem example that defies the odds. It's a coin that truly deserves a second look and a place in a thoughtful collection. And while this 1966 nickel tells a story of the mid-60s, it makes me think of another coin from a completely different era, one with a much darker complexion, and a design that harkens back to the very beginning of the 20th century. In our next discussion, we'll be examining a coin that many collectors overlook, a 1938 Buffalo nickel that, while common in lower grades, holds a secret premium in just the right condition. A secret I think you'll want to hear.